Good evening, good morning, and good afternoon to everyone who has tuned in to our Holidays and Grief Let's Get Acquainted webinar. We hope everyone's had a chance to grab their frankincense and wild orange. This is Sue Lawton speaking to you from cloudy New Jersey. And on with me is our friend and helper and ace teacher and tester, Deb Weyland.
Yeah. Hi, everyone.
How are you tonight?
I'm just super.
Great. Has your body recovered? We helped a friend move yesterday, and both of us were using some nice oils for our sore muscles when we finished that move.
Yes, and it much, much better. Better than it would have been without them, put it that way.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're getting you ready for the holidays, and I just thought this might be very appropriate. For once, we're going to have a happy family get-together. I'm stuffing the turkey with Prozac. Okay.
Hey.
The story is that every year people anticipate. Every year people anticipate having a wonderful time. People prepare. Kids have new stories. When I was very little, back in the time of Moses and I, it was very appropriate on Thanksgiving when we had all of the neighbors and the relatives over, that whatever new thing you had learned to do, you had to do it in front of people. Whether it was playing the piano or reciting poetry or changing wounds dressings. We got to do it in front of everybody. How about you, Deb? Did you get to do that?
Well, I didn't have to do the wound thing, but yes, we always had to demonstrate something, or the report card, because it comes out right before the holiday, gets passed around for everyone to look at and commented on, and yes, same thing.
Yes. So as you mature and you get older and the holidays show up, I, again, grabbed some of these great cartoons and images right off Facebook. One of the reasons I love Facebook, free art. Thanksgiving is all about getting your entire dysfunctional family under the same roof and hoping the police don't get called. Okay? And sometimes the police would be arguments or somebody saying something or remembering something that wasn't fun and making everyone else be very quiet.
Mm-hmm.
There's challenges when we approach the holidays. Isn't that true?
Oh my gosh, so many. And the first one is so important, the old baggage.
Oh. Yes. You remember Uncle Ty can't sit next to Uncle Don because they're going to have the debate about who's the better Catholic, or they're going to have the debate about who got all A's in school again, so we can't sit them together.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, there's always too much sugar. Isn't that true?
Oh, my gosh. Well, excuse me, we're talking Thanksgiving. What is that candied yam thing? And, and the pies and oh, my gosh.
Everyone's favorite recipes.
Yes.
Okay. For old baggage, we recommend black pepper marjoram.
Mm-hmm.
To compensate sugar, coriander all over your belly. When you recognize you're slipping into old patterns and you are feeling less than happy as you decided you wanted to be, we use frankincense and wild orange. Where do you put it, Deb?
Anywhere you want. No, but I rub it on the back of my neck. I breathe it in and around your wrist. And I've been sneaking the diffuser into the rooms too lately, and that helps.
Great. And can assuming get us into trouble?
Well, assuming gets me into, it used to get me into trouble because I would assume how things would go or how I wanted them to go. And when they didn't go that way, it's added tension and that just makes all the other challenges of the holiday even greater than they should be.
Well, that's how I look at it. It's like if you assume everyone is going to love marshmallows and brown sugar on your sweet potatoes, you may end up with a lot of sweet potatoes at the end of the meal.
Right.
Best to check because things could have changed since a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
And if you find yourself assuming bad things like Uncle Louie is going to tell dirty jokes again, and I don't want him to because we have the grandkids and they're too young for adult jokes, talk to him about it. But talk to him about it in a we've tried something new at home kind of a talk, not you're a dirty old man with accusations kind of a talk.
Right.
And if a couple of the aunts are doing the usual character assassination of the new in-laws or the new outlaws, we recommend cedarwood. Cedarwood will clear the air. Cedarwood will help people identify virtues. Because fault identification used to be one of the main events of my aunts and uncles. And God help the older cousins as they brought their prospective mates to any of these events. I don't know, did that happen at your house, Miss Deb?
Yeah, whether it be for me, the boyfriend, or my brother or girlfriend, yeah, there was always comments said, and unfortunately it was said pretty near where they could hear them. So there was always a lot of tension and stress when you when you were having someone over.
So use cedarwood. And if you're judging yourself to be short, if you're judging yourself to be unworthy to sit next to Uncle Ty, if you're judging yourself to feel less than someone because maybe you got reorganized out of your job, maybe you don't have the newest Cadillac, if you're feeling less than by self-assigned judgment, then you need to use Melissa to relieve yourself of what we call the virus of discontent with self.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a wonderful thing called the joyful blend, which also can be very helpful. Now let's review. Whatever happened last year, that was a year ago. So have new things happened in your life since last year, Miss Deb?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Sure.
Okay.
I mean, positive changes, positive things. You want to focus on those and try not to think back to over a year ago. There's always, I mean, you're always changing, new experiences. I mean, I've had so many new experiences this year and opportunities. So, yeah, focus on that. Absolutely. And you've had a lot of new things happen in your life as well.
Yes, our whole family's changed. Some are in heaven now that were with us last year.
Mm-hmm.
We have moved locations. We've lost cell phones. There's been a whole lot of changes that have happened. Okay.
You're losing cell phones happens on a pretty regular basis.
Oh, man. I'm going to start wearing rubber gloves, you know?
Yeah, well.
Okay. One of the reasons why, and this is universally accepted, people misbehave around the holidays. People need more attention around the holidays.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, the idea of getting together with family or old friends when things have changed during your past year, these are some of the things that could have happened to your friends, to your family members, that you may be unaware of, or sometimes people who have been, how do we put it nicely, who have been less than charming, less than helpful, less than encouraging during the holidays, or maybe hypercritical. There's a sudden shift in their behavior, and they're not worse. They're quiet and vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
And we wanted to talk to people because I've gotten so many questions about how do I help my friend deal with the fact that her husband walked away? How do I help my family? We're all going to have a good time. We have new grandkids. We want to do fun things for the holidays, but grandma's not here anymore. How do we respect grandma and the people who have passed on and respect previous relationships? We had a surprise this year. My sister, who's been married, we thought happily for 31 years, divorced her husband and told everybody how friendly it was. And we just were all very surprised. But now, what do you do for the holidays? And do you invite everybody? Do you invite the in-laws, the outlaws, the patterns that you had established for years? Everybody just kind of assumed everybody was coming. Well, now we need to ask people, don't we?
Right. And a lot of times people hide what they're going through, so you're not really sure, or maybe they haven't shared it. Or sometimes what is a loss for others isn't something that we see as a loss. Like if you weren't a pet lover, you would not understand how the death of a beloved pet could really affect someone. Or someone that's been in a long-term relationship and suddenly it ended, and now they're I used to call it the singleton sitting at the table. That just creates tension, and it kind of creates a focus on them that they may not want or want to talk about. So we have to like open up and look at other people's issues and recognize them for having a different level of emotional distress for them than we might think ourselves.
Right. And we more and more as a society are really struggling to move away from self-criticism and criticism of everyone around us. The purpose of this webinar was to just ask you to be more open to where other people might be living. They may not, like Deb said, they may not want to discuss their loss, their change in partnership. They lost status at work because it's like the music business. All those people who used to make CDs, all those art people used to make covers, all those people who worked in the industry where it's become electronic, or even those of us who remember going to stores and standing online to rent movies. Remember doing that, Deb?
Oh my gosh, sure.
Well, nobody makes those packages anymore because we all use Netflix, okay? So people who had an ability to use their talent and expression, even in art, aren't appreciated the way they were before. So we're asking you to be open to, when you're inviting people into your home to share a meal, and breaking bread is a very high form of flattery. I trust you enough to break bread with me says a lot. So when people are going through struggles to create fun, it's really important that we go to neutral ground. But these are some of the things that can happen that people won't talk about, and it can be really difficult. I was taking another class about PTSD and how to help people even after a long period of time has happened. In the United States, we're all pretty much programmed to there's a certain length of time you're going to feel bad, or there's a certain length of time you're going to feel sick. And maybe it originated with our medicine. I don't know how it originated, but I've had people come to me and say, well, he's been home from war for 3 years now, and he still has nightmares. Shouldn't he be over it by now? Well, not necessarily. How people process trauma, how people process falling down the stairs, how people perceive natural disasters, that's recorded at the emotional level, and how they respond to it, and what part it takes, and how they view every day after that changes their life, and they work real hard to be normal. Deb, do you remember that car accident you were in with your mom?
Oh, sure.
And that everybody was fussing over your mom and didn't even realize how badly you were injured.
Right. They looked at what was injured on the surface, but not underneath, and now it's something that I have with me for the rest of my life, a permanent injury because it was overlooked. And that happens to a lot. And Sue, being from New Jersey, I think you and I have definitely witnessed everyone who is still recovering from Sandy 3 years ago.
Oh my.
That some of those people are still not over it. Their houses are not back. Their homes are gone, and all their belongings. And, you and I both have people that we know very well that are still dealing with that. And every person has dealt with that in a really different way.
Yeah, and how people process pain, fear, depression, a sense of feeling powerless.
Yes.
And how we play it. Well, okay, next time I'm going to have plenty of batteries on hand. Next time, this is what I'm going to do. Because
Mm-hmm.
we always try to plan for, we need to be better prepared. This was our lesson, this was our education.
Exactly.
But this is why I have an appeal for, let's just, there's certain people that we're going to react to. There's certain people that bring out the worst in me, and all they have to do is say hello, and I'm ready for a fight. And it can happen to all of us
It can.
because
It absolutely can.
they trigger some kind of history in which we felt insecure or
Mm-hmm.
we were very, very afraid.
Right.
Okay? So it's really important that you be aware people can carry these things legitimately for years and years. And how they hear things when they're processing other pain, how they perceive the world, a gentle smile, you're just showing up, bringing a little bag of peanuts, whatever you choose to contribute, a simple, kind little act of kindness is amazing what can happen.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I want you to meet your happy chemicals.
Hello, happy chemicals.
Everybody has these, everybody makes these,
Mm-hmm.
everybody processes these. Dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, and endorphins. You know how I love endorphins.
I know.
Okay. Loretta just published another book, and she wants everyone to know that if you do what we've talked about for a long time,
Mm-hmm.
drink your water on a regular basis, exercise 2 20-minute periods daily, you will boost your happy chemicals. The more you boost your happy chemicals on a regular practice basis, not only do you improve your coping skills, but you keep your organs young. You keep that stress line in check. You are able to manage you better by keeping your happy chemicals happy. Does that help?
Yeah, and these this combination of chemicals, of course, also help you rest properly and relax properly. So while they'll keep you energized during the day and making you feel happy, they'll also allow you to get your proper rest and relaxation when you try to sleep. So that's even more important.
So, before a major gathering of family members, friends, where there has been changes, perhaps grandma went to heaven to be, with my relatives because they heard the party section just got better up there. Anything is possible, okay? There's going to be an empty chair. People are going to miss grandma's pecan pie. Those things are real.
Mm-hmm.
But we want to talk a little bit about the side effects. People don't always understand when they are experiencing anxiety or long-term anxiety, or they're afraid most of the time and they've just learned to swallow it. So it kind of becomes the shower curtain of dread as they face each new day. This is a pretty amazing list, isn't it?
It is, and it duplicates so many other things. And a lot of times people just overlook it or say, oh, please get over it, get real, stop it. But these are real things that that your people are experiencing, and it's real to them. It makes them uncomfortable if they're not feeling well. And I mean, they can really require some professional assistance. The blood pressure, the trembling, uncontrollable, crying, worrying, all the muscle aches, pounding of your heart. I mean, when you've gotten scared, what that feeling is like, but it goes away. But for people suffering from severe anxiety, it's with them so much. They don't eat right. They don't sleep right. I mean, it just impacts their life 24/7.
Right, and the reason I'm bringing this up is people ask questions about all these states of being that you see listed here. And pardon me, they want to know what can they do to manage themselves. What's the first thing I'm going to say, Miss Deb?
Drink more water?
Drink more water. Drink more water. Drink more water. Because when you're fearful or worried about something and your body is starting to manifest some discomfort, then you need to dilute your worries, dilute your pattern of making acid by drinking more water and your 2 20-minute walks every day. Remember we just talked about the positive chemicals and
Absolutely.
how to keep them moving in your body?
Mm-hmm.
Remember, your body's an amazing miracle. And what was it you were saying earlier about, you like the phrase about listen to your body when it whispers to you so you don't have to deal with it when it's screaming?
That's true.
I really like that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But these are some of the things that when you are with people, you might find some of this irritating.
Yeah.
So depersonalize everything. Please depersonalize things. And so if somebody calls you and says, I love your turkey every year, but this year could you not put the onions in the dressing? I seem to have a lot of indigestion. So when they say that, rather than just say, oh, here, take this, respect them. I always make a side dish a dressing that doesn't have onions or garlic in it because some people don't appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Just make a side dish. Don't talk about it. Don't try to sell them something. Just accept the fact that they may be going through something. And would you want people asking you lots of questions?
No, absolutely not. Normally they're not, when they're going through these issues, they're not even comfortable discussing it themselves. That they're probably not even aware of all that they're doing. So no, questioning is probably the last thing that anyone would want at this time. So you just
right, because people who are suffering from fear and anxiety, if you ask questions to show interest, they're going to hear it as you're criticizing them.
Yes.
Which is the last thing people who are already fearful need.
Mm-hmm.
I hope this is being helpful. Anxiety attacks aren't always hyperventilating and rocking back and forth. People have seen these things on movies. People think, oh, I can't be having an anxiety attack because I'm not hyperventilating and rocking back and forth.
Right.
They can come in many different formats on particular bouts of rage or irritability. Nitpickiness, obsessive behavior, which may be a part of OCD, or even a hypersensitivity to disarray, chaos, or any sort of change.
Well, you've seen that. People that are nervous and anxious, they like everything in its place. And if you go and move it, it really distresses them, and they'll move it back to the way they had it immediately.
Oh, yeah.
And that's part of their keeping their comfort. They want everything kept the same around them because that's what they can handle.
Yeah. Well, like from home visiting of patients or even working floors as a nurse, certain procedures and processes where things are placed is for the patient's security and safety. Mm-hmm. And you're right. If we try to move it or we don't put the table back exactly where it goes and there's water on the left side where it's supposed to be, we make them uncomfortable. Sometimes anxiety attacks are expressed in fast talking, stuttering, stumbling over words, or not talking at all. People pacing. Now it's hard to tell because some people will hold their phone up to the ear and pretend they're having conversations when they're really just trying to walk something off.
Right. And a lot of times people feeling anxiety will actually do the opposite. They'll get very quiet, they sit very rigid, and they stare. They look like they zoned out, that they tuned you out. And but that's, again, their way of dealing with the stress that they're feeling inside.
Right, but understand people can have short-term challenges and don't point it out to them. Resist. Resist trying to be helpful. Now, let's talk about the 5 stages of grief. We want to talk about that because when your puppy has passed on, who's been with the family for 14 years, and we're going to have Thanksgiving, and she always had her own special little dish for Thanksgiving,
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be missed. Puppy is going to be missed. And there's 5 stages of grief that pretty much Elizabeth Kubler-Ross figured this out a long time ago from her practice. And it's pretty much, it stays the same. Denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and finally acceptance that things have changed. And people switch between these. They go back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
They bargain. They're depressed. They're angry again. Then they're depressed some more. But there's pretty much 5 stages. And nobody can tell you how long it takes to process your filling the space that person had in your life, or that puppy had in your life, or that recipe. I mean, when my great grandma died, her secret Rice Krispie treats special recipe with the Karo syrup died with her. Okay, we've all tried to duplicate it, and darn it, none of us can get it quite right.
Well, because that mystery ingredient unfortunately died with her.
Either that or they don't make it anymore.
That's true. And it's funny that you said that, because we had the same thing in my family. We have a very special soup that we make at certain holidays, and my grandmother's best friend said, "Oh, I have the recipe," and we were so happy that first holiday, and she made it for us, and we're all like, "This is great," and we're like, "But it's not grandma's," So I absolutely understand, and it is a sense of loss at not being able to have something that's part of your tradition.
Right. And the reason we want to bring up these different stages of grief is because everybody does things at their own pace.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody reveals that they are feeling bad, suffering, missing. They identify all those in their own time and their own space. I found this on Facebook and I love it. This is called the Grief Wheel. Mm-hmm. And it kind of helps people understand why things happen. I was speaking to a young lady yesterday who was telling me, I just don't feel like doing anything. I'm not upset anymore, but I just don't feel like doing anything. I don't care about going out. I don't care about going shopping. And I always love shopping this time of year.
Right.
So we agreed that she was just going to take a little vacation from the holidays because the person she lost was such a big part of her life. She needs to establish new patterns for her so that she cares about herself again. But you can see from this grief wheel that sometimes the wheel just goes around for a while.
Yes.
You don't graduate. It's not like you move from a 305 class to a 504 class and you've graduated. Things happen. So,
yeah, and a lot of times people make it all the way around to reorganization and they think that they're getting better, right, Dr. Sue? And then sometimes they go back to that stage of deterioration again.
Yep. It just depends on how they're trying to cope with the outside world. So, if you've lost a friend or a close family member and you're going to set the table and you've invited everybody and you haven't planned anything different for this holiday, there's some things you should know you can do. It's very appropriate to talk about, so-and-so isn't here this year. It's too bad. She always told the joke about, Santa, getting stuck in the chimney, and she's not here to tell it. It's really okay to talk about the person who's not there, who's already moved on to heaven. It's really okay to talk about the contributions they made. And it's really okay to talk about what you miss in the relationship that you had with that person. Or like in the case of my Uncle Louie, we were grateful when he passed on because we didn't have to cover all the little kids' ears when he opened his mouth. God bless him. Give the poor man a couple of drinks, a holiday cheer, and his mouth could get like a sailor. It would be very unkind, okay? So everybody responds differently. Some people like to tell jokes. Some people like to say, okay, we're going to start a new tradition this year. I mean, you and I have done the tablecloth thing for years. We introduced that to people.
Yep, it's great fun decorating that tablecloth. Absolutely.
So tell them about it.
You put a white tablecloth down, or if you really don't want to use a tablecloth, you can use like white butcher block paper, and you put an array of crayons or markers and all different things, and people write sayings or decorations. They can write a poem, they can draw a little picture, and they personalize that tablecloth, and it becomes it could become just a remembrance of that event. And it's like kind of an icebreaker, and it breaks through the sadness of the event if it's the first holiday that you're having after someone that that you love has passed on. And it's just, again, it's a change of behavior, it's a change of habit. You're breaking the patterns from what used to be. And I know personally, like after I lost one of my parents, everybody, I don't know about your family, Dr. Sue, but everyone kind of had their assigned seats,
Yes.
where they sat at the table.
Oh my gosh, yes.
So, like, you just didn't want to have this empty chair, so we actually changed the design of the table, and actually, like, kind of had everyone had to sit in a different spot, just to kind of take away that, like, empty seat image there. So, so any kind of new thing like that, like the tablecloth or changing seating, just helps the event move forward.
Right. When we have pain, when we have suffered a loss, what can be helpful, or to make people more comfortable with the idea of celebration in spite of someone else not being with us, is to do new things.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, some people don't have the gathering for a couple years after losing a significant parent or sibling. They just
Mm-hmm.
do something totally different because that fits into. We have to create new memories. We have to create new images. And that's just one of many things you can do. And I've met some very intelligent people and worked with people who tell me about grief attacks. Mm-hmm. That all of a sudden, they say, it's like this big wave just rolls through me. I wasn't even thinking about the person who's passed on, but all of a sudden I'm choking up and I got tears running down my face. And I'm about to go into a major meeting, and I don't understand it. Well, sometimes when grieving, we can be going along and everything seems okay. Then out of nowhere, grief hits full force. These are not setbacks. These are part of the grieving experience. It's part of your sorting inside how you feel about life, how you feel about separation, how you feel about things changing. That doesn't mean it's bad. To me, people having sudden onset of grief means you are processing. You haven't tried to stuff it down and put the top on the big trash can and save it up to process at some future time.
Right.
Remember those 5 stages we talked about?
Yep. Yeah, you kind of go through them at different times, and this really is a reality. I actually had that myself, and the most important thing is to move on from it. Like, don't blame yourself. Like, why am I doing this? Why am I holding on to this? Stop criticizing yourself. Decide to move on. Make a plan to move forward with that, and don't view it as a negative thing. View it as a positive thing, and moving forward.
Right. If you make the list of things you're missing because someone special has left your life, sometimes friends move overseas and communication just falls by the wayside. Mm-hmm. Sometimes people just leave, and there's no reason why that we know about. But we miss that contact. We miss that energy source. We miss that exchange. We miss the silliness. Whatever it is that we miss, if we make the list of things that we have and how much we have enjoyed them, expressing gratitude for different good things in our life, it helps put things in balance.
Right.
I've been seeking balance for a long time, and I expect I'll still be seeking it years from now. But I have found that gratitude and expressing appreciation really do have a good energy centering aspect. And you know me, I always got my party and my inhaler with me. I love inhalers. And I always have several because I like different parties. Some mine today had Joyful Blend, and I have another one with frankincense and bergamot in it. And whatever's going on around you, sometimes it's not appropriate to start splashing bottles of oils everywhere because other people are unfamiliar or sensitive or whatever the right word is. So that's why I love my inhalers, because I can have a party in a tube anytime I want. I can shift my focus. I can choose to think my thoughts based on, I like this fragrance, it makes me feel good.
Right. I love this. I will not stop grieving to please others. My healing depends on it. And it's so true. We can't put a timeline on. We can't say I'm gonna feel better because my feeling bad bothers my friends. We can't. It's a process, and we have to go through it at our own pace. We can't feel guilty about it, and you're the only one that can control your thoughts and what you're thinking at that time, and you have to stop worrying about pleasing everyone else around you.
Right. And people who have not suffered losses of very close friends, relatives, even pets. I mean, I have met grown adults who never lost anybody till they were in their 60s. And they have no reference point. They don't understand what to do with that really big, bad feeling. Yeah. So it's very, they have a profound disappointment. That love they depended on is gone.
Right.
And they need to figure out a way to cope their own way. Some people totally drop out of activities. Some people spend a lot of time watching movies. Some people do a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm. And Sue, the teacher in me, I have to point out that children go through this process not necessarily because of a permanent loss, as in a death of, but going through school, they establish good friends early on, and they've learned to lean on each other, and then because of, a lot of times when they leave elementary school and they go to a middle school program, they are separated from that friend after they've been in the same, luckily enough, in the same classes for all those years, or their friend has moved away. They do actually go through these same similar stages because that person had been such an important part of their life. So just to make people aware that you can see a child go through this as well, not just an adult.
Yeah, and teachers, well, you had the one little case last year where, God bless them, the parent passed away in the hospital, and they were from South America, I think you told me, and they had different traditions, so the children stayed with the aunt, and the family of adults went to South America with the body, and they didn't tell the child till a couple of months later.
Yeah, it was, the child knew something was wrong. They didn't know how to express it. They were really sad, but they really didn't understand what was going on. And now not only was their one parent that passed away gone, but their other parent was left the country as well. So they just had a double loss, and without really understanding what was going on. And no one would tell them. Everyone tried really hard to comfort them. They kept giving them things and taking them places and showering them with, every imaginable toy, but no one would help them work through their feelings. And it was hard. They were young. They were 5 years old, so it was really a hard thing for them.
Guilt-free processing is really important. It's really, really important that children be allowed and young adults be allowed to express their way. Teenagers in particular feel things more deeply, more sharply. Not that sensitive people as grown adults don't feel things deeply and sharply. I'm not minimizing anyone. I'm just suggesting that where teenagers are involved, it's important that parents have the courage to allow them to express their disappointment. Okay? We talked about this, Debbie. Tell them.
Yes. There is a huge difference, people, between living in the past and remembering it. And you can have your memories. You can think about what went on in the past, but you still have to be in the present. You can't go back and relive, stay in those old moments. And a very dear friend of mine does this, and it's so hard. We try to, help her through this, but she's not in the present. She's not enjoying day-to-day experiences. It's just that constant things that happened 20, 30 years ago. And remember it fondly, remember it with anger, however you want to remember it, but be in the present. Move forward, have plans for the future, have little goals for you, for tomorrow, for the next day, for the next week. You want to enjoy what's happening now. And it's sad to see this happen, because right now they have so little value on what they're doing on their day-to-day existence now, because all they think about is what happened in the past.
Right, and allowing the past to take its proper place. Sometimes people need to process unpleasant things. Mm-hmm. And in processing unpleasant things, it's okay to look back, to look at the lesson, but you don't have to process the pain every day.
No.
You can just identify how to look at things differently when you have the courage. But again, it's a matter of what is important to you and what time, not anyone else's time.
Right.
A lot of people forget this.
Angry is just a sad bodyguard.
Yes.
Lisa Palmer, how true.
When you are feeling very sad, laughter can be painful. When you're feeling very sad, people saying nice things to you can be a real irritant. When people are being very sad, they don't know how to express it. If you don't recognize that maybe today's not a good day to pick on them, you will have an angry response. But again, I'm asking you, please depersonalize. Please don't take it personally. Recognize there's something going on.
Right. Yeah, especially around the holidays, everybody's, I think, sometimes a little bit more sensitive, and we do take things so much more personally. And we do have to, I know myself, sometimes you just have to take that step back and say, okay, let it go.
Yes.
Oh, my little adrenals. I love this picture.
Right. I can't let you guys forget about this. That when you're going through things, emotionally, it is so important that you protect your body systems. It's so important that you make choices so that you can process whatever it is you need to process emotionally without compromising organ systems permanently. Think in terms of healthy adrenals help you with coping skills. Remember those great positive chemicals we talked about earlier? If your adrenals are working overtime and you're suffering from adrenal fatigue, which can be a side effect of long-term grief, long-term sadness, long-term unhappiness.
Anxiety.
Right, fear and anxiety.
Right.
All these things contribute to adrenal stress. And if you suffer from adrenal fatigue, there's somebody who just got published last week whose theories are due to the way our society is structured and stress and feeling frustrated about things they don't have any control over, especially in the housing market and in the stock market. Everyone feels like they're being fooled by banks. There's surprises that people get into what we call adrenal fatigue. And then that kind of heightens pain. It heightens discomfort. It impairs rapid healing. And these things can all happen when people will say, gee, I thought I was finished with the grieving process. Why do I feel so bad? Well, I'm happy you recovered from your grieving process and you've put things in perspective, but now you need to take really good care of your body. You need to rest. You need to get that sleep. You need to hydrate. You need to balance your protein and your starch. Eating a whole carrot cake at one sitting is not good for your system. Or a whole pumpkin pie with layers of whipped cream.
But pumpkin is an orange vegetable.
That was good. Orange, that's true. Pumpkin without the sugar, the brown sugar,
Right.
the syrup, what do you put the white puffy stuff on top? The whipped cream.
Whipped cream.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
That kind of moves it into another category. Think in terms of when you're upset, you're not feeling right, you're grieving, whatever word you want to use. When you're not exercising your 20 minutes every day, when you are not focused on a restful sleep, when you are not drinking enough water, when you're allowing constipation to happen. I mean, a whole carrot cake probably would do it.
Oh, probably.
Yeah, but when you're adding to your pain, you're adding to your grief.
Right. And a lot of times what happens with the not feeling well, your body starts to break down in different ways. Your allergies will act up. You might pick up a virus. You may have difficulty healing a wound, and that all adds more stress and anxiety into you because you're not feeling well. Then you start taking the medication to combat all that, and you're just starting the whole cycle. Normally, I don't know about you, but when I don't feel good, you kind of look for some comfort food, and a lot of times it's the wrong types of food. You're just setting like a whole nother vicious cycle all over again. So while you may have recovered from something, your body is now fighting so many other things, and then you still feel bad. So,
right. So as you're approaching the holidays, it's really important that you are careful, because when people are feeling this bad, one of the things you don't want to say is, gosh, you put on like 20 pounds since last year, haven't you?
oh, geez.
Not a good thing to say. Well, that would be Uncle Louie. He would point out every flaw anybody had just to make sure they could feel bad. That was his thing.
Yeah, I had an uncle that did that too, yes.
Okay.
What was it with those uncles?
Well, everybody had to have one, right?
Of
They weren't
course.
big on kind. They weren't big on support. So
No.
I'm saying, if you run across a friend and the first thing you notice is their shoulders are slumped forward and they put weight on, you might be real kind right off and figure out something has happened and they're working to feel better somehow. Okay, ways to manage your anxiety or panic attacks. This is from the High Anxiety Facebook group, but this applies to grieving. This applies to people who are going through processing change that has been painful.
And it applies to people having friends who are going through it too.
Yes.
It helps everyone. It really does. First thing, make sure you get plenty of rest. And we've talked about rest so many times, how important it is to get your sleep. Because it balances all those inner things in your body.
Right, and people who have trouble losing weight, if you don't get enough sleep, you also will not eliminate weight. Doesn't matter what kind of diet you're on. Your body works for balance.
Yeah, and there's so many studies on that right now. It's amazing.
Yes.
They'll tell you to eat small meals all day long. That'll help keep your blood sugar levels from spiking and then dropping.
Right.
And you'll actually feel better all day long.
Right. Skip the caffeine and the high sugary foods. That means cold caffeine too. So if you like soda, not a good thing.
What do you call it? Coca-Cola?
Coca-Cola, not good for you if you're already stressed.
Right. Try meditation or deep breathing. Dr. Sue always tells us every hour, just take a little bit of time to do some deep breathing exercises, and you'll be amazed at how much better you feel.
And learn your triggers. Learn your own triggers. Like if you know you shouldn't talk to a family member after 5 p.m. because they've been doing wine tasting, don't talk to them after 5 p.m. They may not be very reasonable. Learn what's a trigger that is appropriate. Look for natural remedies, like a gluten-free diet. If you've tried everything except changing your diet, do the simple thing, change your diet.
Be kind, be gentle with yourself, and the big one is don't be afraid to say no. Don't add more stress to yourself by adding too much on your caseload. You know, we all have busy lives. We're all very busy, and sometimes you just want to please everyone, and sometimes you just need to say no.
Right. Just say, I'm really sorry, I have a swim lesson then. I just can't make it. Okay. And I love this tip. This tip was taught to me by Peggy Smith. Peggy Smith taught me several years ago that if you are working and you are busy and a person you're associated with is calling you, you need to let them leave a message. Number one, you let them know you're not available at the drop of a hat. And number two, when they leave the message, you can figure out if it warrants an immediate callback or if it can wait till you're finished with whatever you're working on. It might even give you a chance to do some research and decide, is it best to contact this person?
Great idea.
Take a break from it. Put it on whatever that is, where you can just write a message, sorry, not available.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay. I mean, when you've come to any events I've held, you know I say turn your phone off unless you're a surgeon on call and I want to see your card. Because when we are discussing things, that time is about you, not about texting, not about answering other people or their concerns. It's really important, especially if you've suffered a loss. Please, please, please turn your phone off. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And this is our last major point to leave you until Thursday, and then we have a lot of creative stuff for you.
You never invite a thief into your house, so why would you allow your thoughts to steal your joy and make themselves at home in your mind? And, you know, Dr. Sue always talks about the power of positive thought, and it's so true. Try to keep the negativity out of your mind. Try to find joy. Keep that center of your thoughts, and you'll see a big difference.
And express gratitude. I'm still big on 3 new things that you're expressing gratitude for every night. You have to spend your day finding 3 new things to be grateful for. You can't keep saying the sun came up and those trees are really pretty. You have to come up with 3 new things.
I do that every night ever since you told me to do that, and it does make such a big difference. And you'd be surprised how some of the littlest things make you feel so grateful.
Amen. Please, I'm going to repost for Thursday, and you can register again, and they will sign you up, send you a reminder. There's lots of ways to say I love you if the words are too hard for you, or if you're in too much pain to say I love you, or if those words don't mean to you because of a bad experience. Call me when you get there so I know you're safe. Don't worry, I'll take care of it for you. My phone will be right by my pillow. I appreciate what you do for me. I just wanted to hear your voice.
How did you sleep last night? I hope you're feeling better. Don't forget to buckle up. How's your day so far? Watch your step. Are you hungry?
Yes. Oh, wait, sorry.
And sweet dreams, or I miss you.
Those are all ways to say I love you and confirm someone else's worth. One more thing I want to tell you that we did last year, and I reminded my husband about it, and he's starting it again this year. People in his office, they've rearranged responsibilities, and people are a little insecure and they're a little off put because the world is changing and he's in publishing. So they were trying to find ways to build more team and to build more appreciation. So once a week, your partner, whoever it is, because it rotates, they have a system that rotates in random. They need to send you a text that lists 3 virtues they've recognized in you. And it's very cool because these are new business associates to each other. So they have to pay close attention, don't they? And so they actually really listen. And they actually, once a week have to send just 3 virtues. You don't have to say anything else. But that's what they're supposed to do. And he said the change in the team is amazing because they're tipped towards seeking respect and how they treat each other, because you don't know who's observing you for your 3 virtues. You will be surprised. And people have been surprised.
Very nice.
So think about 3 virtues you can send your loved ones and really scare them, because they go, oh my God. What does that mean?
Very nice.
Okay?
Yes.
We'd like to thank you for joining us. This was a difficult subject. We're going to give you more things to deal with difficult conversations on Thursday. Thank you for using your oils. Thank you for making your parties in a tube. Parties in tubes. However many parties you want to have, put it in. And thank you, Debbie, for joining us and for sharing.
Thank you, Sue, and thank you, everyone.
Okay? And remember, be gentle with yourself, less criticism, more loving. Okay? Less criticism, less judgment, more loving. Thank you, and good night.
Bye, everyone.